In this video, I am going to be making a Minky blanket. So recently I have been wanting to sew some kind of Minky blanket, and I've seen these Shannon Fabrics kits. I got this one off Amazon. It was on a good sale. And so this includes everything I'm gonna need for the top of the Minky and the binding around the edges. And then I did have to go ahead and purchase a backing for it, and I went with this dark blue. I believe it's called ink. I'll try to link everything that I'm using in this video down below in case you're interested. So the back of the Minky will be this dark blue ink Minky fabric. This Minky is gonna be 58 by 68 inches. So I needed a bigger piece of batting, but I already had two of these small for lap blankets or crib size projects. They are 45 by 60 and I needed 68 by 58. So I think what I'll do is sew two of these together. I'll probably just zigzag them right up next to each other. You're not gonna see these. I'm gonna see how strong it is, but I'm hoping that these will work. I'm gonna start by opening this up and seeing kind of what we got. I'm assuming there's gonna be some instructions in here as well, as far as like piecing the top goes. Something else I need to do, I think you can kind of see it right here, is get out my sewing machine. I used to sew on a Brother. It was a really basic, I got it off Facebook Marketplace secondhand for like 30 bucks. I'll link what I used to use below. This new one I have over here is a Pfaff. It's a lot fancier. I think it's the Quilt Expeession something. I'll link it. And so far I really like it. I really haven't used it all that much, but I'm excited to use it a little more for this project. So I also need to get that set up on my desk. But first, we're gonna check out what we got in this little kit. I'm really liking the colors. I'm assuming there was gonna be instructions in here. Here is what the little booklet looks like. This is called Blissful Bouquet, the Crazy 8 Quilt Kit. Gave me this little tag that has the brand and then also like washing instructions. That's actually really cool. Okay, I'm gonna do some studying of this. I'm also gonna get my sewing machine out and get everything ready to go, and then I'll come back on camera when I'm ready to actually start piecing this together. So this is interesting because this kit does not talk about using any batting at all. I'm really glad I went to YouTube because this video cleared up a lot for me. Turns out they actually do recommend using a batting. It just didn't tell me to in the little booklet. So basically what I'm gonna do is piece together my batting and backing, and I'm gonna get those spray basted together. And then after that, I'm gonna start with the center strip in the middle of the quilt, spray baste that down. And then from there, I'm gonna start piecing together the strips going up, and then I'll do the same thing going down from that center point. If that doesn't make sense, I'll obviously show it as I do it. But for now, I wanna start by piecing the backing together and my two pieces of batting, and then we'll see where we're at. So what I'm gonna do is meet up the long edges of both pieces of batting that I have, and I'm gonna butt them up right next to each other and zigzag them together. I just watched a video on this. I kind of knew that's what you do. But obviously we don't want to sew them right sides together and flip it, because then you'd have a really thick point inside your blanket where that seam is. So I'm gonna butt them right up next to each other, zigzag them together, and that should give us a pretty good hold. Let's go ahead and try it out and see how it goes. Why does that not sound very good? Okay, so I did get my sewing machine to work off camera. I went ahead and sewed the two pieces together off camera. So now it is one big piece. Now I'm going to lay this out on the floor and get it basted together. Also, I don't think I'm gonna have to sew the backing pieces together. I don't know why I thought it was gonna be two separate yards. I'm pretty sure they cut it in one 2-yard strip. So I'm gonna lay that out and then center this on it and get to spray basting it together. This is the spray baste I'm using. I'm gonna start on this side. It said to spray it on the fabric, not the batting.
Hi, Wiener. What are you doing here? Are you helping me?
Ooh. Is that meant to be 10 and a half? I was under the impression these were already 10 inches. They're a little over, so I'm going to trim them down to the right width. And then we can get to placing them on. And then while I'm at it, I'm going to cut. Some of them need to be cut in smaller pieces. So I'm going to get all these cut, and then we can continue. It's the next day, and I'm ready to start putting this thing together. I got all my pieces cut. I got my batting hooked to my backing, and now we're gonna start the Quilt As You Go method and adding on the top pieces.
And Wiener's gonna help me, huh?
Get this thing out again. I forgot to mark the top, so I'm just gonna have to figure out which way the napping is going. I think that's what it's called. And then make sure that I put the top pieces on going the same direction. According to this little instruction booklet, I'm supposed to sew a 5-inch rose water strip on each side. It tells me to pin one and then sew it and then do the other. I think it's going to be easier to just pin both of them and then be able to sew them both at the sewing machine, since this is so big and it's going to be a hassle to get up there and get back down. I think doing both the pinning at once is going to make my life easier. Babe, you little whistler. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and sew along here, catching all 4 layers, the 2 pattern pieces, the backing, and the batting. So let's go ahead and get this in the sewing machine. I think I am just going to roll this up on both sides to make it a little bit more manageable and to hopefully keep the backing and batting together and somewhat straight. Okay, now what I need to do is spray baste these pieces down flat. And then I'm going to repeat this process, sewing and quilting at the same time. Okay, let's do this. All right, I got this, what they call it, Heather waterfall all pinned on. I'm gonna go ahead and sew it. I'm gonna do that off camera because it is the same step as before. I'll come back when we're ready to baste this down and pin on the next stripe. Okay, here it is. It's starting to come together. I think at this point, I'm actually gonna rebaste the batting to the backing because I've noticed on the ends I didn't quite get it good enough. I think you've seen me do this enough times, so I'm gonna go ahead and baste this other side down, get these pink strips pinned on, sew, bring it back, I'll baste these down, and then sew the last two flowery panels on either side, and then I'll check back in and see how it's looking. All right, I went ahead and finished adding all the pieces. I got these last pieces basted down, but I think this is where I'm gonna call it a night tonight. And then tomorrow we will square it up and add the binding. All right, so here's where we're at. I have sewed the binding on, oh, I still have a clip there, all the way around on the wrong side. Now what I need to do is flip it around the front, pin it, and then I'm gonna stitch that down. I just finished sewing the binding all down. Oops. Okay, change of plans. So I just happened to see this part right here where the binding didn't catch. So I'm gonna have to go back and fix that. I'm gonna check for any more spots like that. There was one side that was a little bit trickier than the rest. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a couple on that side. Other than that, I'm gonna go around and trim all these threads. And then it said to use like a stiletto, which I don't have, or like I have this little yarn needle, and go along where you did the zigzag stitch and pull up some of the fuzzies, and that will kind of hide the stitching. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that all around as well, and then I'll be back for the final reveal. So the blanket is done. Overall, I'm really happy with this project. I feel like this is a really great kit. Although I really liked this kit, some things that I think would be helpful is, for one, including the backing fabric in the kit. This kit only provides the binding fabric and the topping fabric. So you have to buy 2 yards of Minky for the back, and you have to buy the batting. I feel like being a kit, it should have everything you need in it. So I think even adding the batting could be beneficial. Obviously, I realized that that would make this kit a lot more expensive, but I had to pay that money anyways in order to finish the blanket. So to me, it's a no-brainer. Definitely not a deal breaker. Like, I see myself in the future doing a baby quilt. I have a niece I'm expecting in May. So I'm almost certain I'll probably be getting a baby size and making one for her. And another thing I wanted to mention is on the front, when you're hooking the binding down, you sew a zigzag along the raw edge of the binding to hook it to the front. And you're supposed to let your needle come off the side of the binding to hit the quilt, and then the other side of your needle is supposed to stay on the binding. I found this to be a little finicky because the binding's so fluffy. You can't tell if you're actually hitting the fabric, like this part of the Minky, or if you're just going through the fuzzy parts. So when I finished sewing the binding down, there were a lot of little holes where it didn't quite catch and the binding wasn't attached all the way. So if you are going to make one of these, I would say err on the side of having your entire zigzag stitch on the Minky. But yeah, overall you end up fluffing up the fibers right where you sewed anyway, so you're not going to see the stitch line. So in my mind, if it's more secure and completely on the binding, I would say that's better. Either way, this is still a good kit and it's a really nice blanket. I think I'm gonna get a lot of use out of this. So yeah, overall, I'm super happy with how this turned out. I hope you guys liked this video and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye guys.